Hi, welcome to this week's New York City neighborhoods, or in the hoods. This week we're going to be talking about 3 neighborhoods north of the financial center. All 3 of these neighborhoods are in a larger Lower East Side, although I think they're distinct in their own right, and therefore I pulled them out. And one video for all 3 probably does not do any of them justice. And so you should explore on your own. And there's some very interesting stuff in each of them. First, we're going to talk about the Civic Center, which is really a very small area. It's only 10 blocks north to south and 5 blocks east to west. And as its name would imply, it is loaded with government buildings. In the 1880s, New York had so increased in size that its government buildings, they couldn't handle the workload, so they had to build. And this is the area they built them in. You'll find other than regular government office buildings here, you'll find the courts down here, you'll find the Metropolitan Correction Facility down here. You know, it's where you go to renew your driver's license if you can't go to one of the pop-ups. It's also where City Hall is. City Hall and City Hall Park are in the Civic District. And interesting to me, anyway, in 1887, there was a big celebration at the newly constructed City Hall, celebrating the joining of the Bronx, Manhattan, Queens, Staten Island, and Brooklyn to form Greater New York City. So that was not that long ago, it seems, just 125 years ago. Not even. So this is where it all began. And it's an area that probably has the fewest residents who actually live there. Although that in recent years has changed with development and the conversion of some famous buildings to condominium use. The Woolworth building is one of them. I think it's on Broadway, and the upper floors are all condominiums, and they're beautiful, and it's a beautiful job taking into count the gargoyles, the terracotta tiles on the roof. It's a beautifully done conversion. And if you have an opportunity, you should try and see it. I think the bottom floors are still used for commercial use, and I believe NYU was renting a number of those floors pre-pandemic. This is all pre-pandemic. But we'll get through this. Also, another building which was being converted was the very famous J&R Music World on Park Row that closed down maybe 6 years ago, and with talk of redeveloping the site to condominiums. I don't know if that ever moved forward or not. There was a big hullabaloo about that. Then, of historical significance, when they were constructing, this was quite recently, a federal building in the area, they discovered thousands and thousands of graves. And they discovered that later that this was one of the largest cemeteries for Black Americans. And at that point, I don't think they stopped construction, because they rarely do, but a memorial was built, and there's a very interesting museum attached to the memorial down there, which you could check out. Then north of there and a little bit east, you have Chinatown. Chinatown really runs to the east over to Essex Street and north to Canal Street. And Chinatown here in New York probably has the largest concentration of Chinese-born and Chinese-American people in the U.S. It's only one Chinatown in New York City. There are several of them. There's one in all of Flushing is Chinatown, as far as I'm concerned, and I believe parts of Brooklyn also, and Queens. Other parts of Queens also have Chinatowns. But this is a very famous part of New York that attracts a lot of tourists. There are fabulous restaurants down in Chinatown. There are also great little knick-knack stores. And it's a great place to go food shopping, you know, if you're looking for fresh vegetables, kind of something a little different. If you're experimenting with your cuisine, it's a great place to shop. It's also, you know, a lot of this was also pre-pandemic. In terms of housing stock, it's largely tenement housing, and some of it is really run down. There's no question. They could use a loan down there and have some redevelopment and repurposing. But a lot of artists and younger people also began to go to Chinatown in search of more affordable housing. So the population has changed, where, you know, early in the 1900s, it was almost all Cantonese speaking. It's now evolved into both Mandarin and English speaking. And you have many more white Americans and people of all different nationalities living down there because of the affordability. North of there, you have Little Italy, which used to extend west to Lafayette Street and east to the Bowery, and north to Houston. Much has changed over the years. Little Italy now is really made up of a few restaurants that have hung on. It is a huge tourist destination, but in terms of an Italian population which founded it and settled there, there are very few real Italians left living in the neighborhood. Most of the people living in the neighborhood are young Americans, and most of the people of Italian descent have moved out, either moved to Brooklyn or moved out to Long Island, but they still hold on to, and Chinatown has moved into what used to be Little Italy. You'll find a lot of Chinese influence, but they still have one of my favorite things, which is the San Gennaro Festival, which is held once a year. They close the streets for a week. I believe it's during August, and it is some of the best eating in New York. And you really need to go. You know, I remember these neighborhoods. A friend of mine grew up in Little Italy. And when she was growing up, when I visited her, you know, we left her apartment and she didn't lock the door. And nobody locked the door down there because it was the safest neighborhood in New York. The mafia was very much in control. and nobody fooled around. I think today you might want to lock your door.